Hello, my friends, and happy Thursday. It's a beautiful day today. Really, it's a perfect day. And it is a perfect day to make a necklace that I called Solaris Raindrop. So, I'm very excited to show you a couple of very common techniques, two techniques that I use actually quite a lot. One of them is a simple way to set a stone. In this case, of course, it's a Swarovski stone. And there's another technique that I used to use quite a bit, and I still go back to it occasionally when a project calls for it, and I call it wire beading. So it's kind of like a little bit if stitching and wire work had a baby. So it would be kind of like that. So let's get a little closer, and I'm showing you both of my samples right now. I have two different colorways, and the first one is Aqua. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot what the first one is. Is it Aqua Garden?
Aqua Garden, yep.
Yes, it's Aqua Garden. And the second is Lilac Ice.
Julie says hello.
Hi, Julie, and thank you for joining us.
The second one is Tanzanite Ice.
Oh my gosh, I went back and forth about lilac and Tanzanite. Okay, so we called it Tanzanite Ice.
Ellen says hi, Irina and everyone.
Hi, Ellen, and thank you for joining us.
Fonda says good evening, everyone.
Hi, Fonda. I'm so glad you're here.
Ellen says I love this design.
Thank you so much, Ellen.
Kathy D says hey, y'all.
Hey, Kathy.
Amy says hi.
Hi, Amy.
Barb says good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Barb.
And Kathy H says hi, everyone.
Hi, Kathy. So before we get started, this is a fairly simple project. It's not going to take us a very long time to do it, but because I really am so excited about showing you some of these techniques, I just wanted to show you how versatile they are. I wish I had the actual sample, but I have no idea where it is at this point. So this is one of my books. I'll tell you which one it is. It's Beautiful Wire Jewelry for Beaders. And so this is kind of an oldie. This is one of my first wire work books. And so the top of the pendant is made very much in the same way as this leaf-shaped brooch. So I just wanted to show you that it's a technique that is so applicable to so many different projects and shapes, and it can be interpreted in so many different creative ways. And I'll show you a couple more just to get you guys excited about this technique.
Your friend from Colorado, Jerry Ann, says hi.
Hi, Jerry. So nice to hear from you.
Lorraine says hi, everyone. Beautiful necklace. Where can we find your books?
Oh, thank you so much for asking, Lorraine. My books are available through the Eclectica Etsy shop, and there is a link in the comments, and I believe also in the description of the video. So you will actually find all of my books in our Etsy shop. There are many more than what I'm showing you right now. So here's another piece using that very same technique. So here, let me just dig up my little pendant, which we're making today. So you can see again that the top of the pendant looks very much like the arms of the starfish in the book. But wait, you guys, there's more. Then there's also this necklace right here. And again, okay, I keep hiding it underneath the book. So let me find it again. I think I found the aqua one. So again, so the focal point in this necklace is framed by two components that I created. And this is exactly the same technique as I'm showing you guys today. So I like to show you why this is so exciting. And again, the kits are available through the Etsy shop, as are the books. And I want to show you just one more picture, possibly just one more, or maybe there are a couple. I guess we will find out. And again, I'm just showing you the same exact technique. Okay, this picture is a little bit dark. I wish I would have grabbed the actual piece, but you can see there's a focal point, and then there is wire beading that's radiating throughout the piece. And let's see, maybe there's another. Oh, this is a much better picture of the same piece. So here it is. And so in my books, what I like to do is include variations of jewelry pieces created using the same technique, but this way it just sort of gives you ideas on other ways to use the same technique. So here is one, this one right here, the one with the green cubic zirconia. And believe it or not, this is the same technique where all of these spokes radiating from the center are attached and wire wrapped in the very same way, except that some of them are beaded and others are left bare. How scandalous, right? They're bare. But anyway, this is kind of a fun look as well. This is just a little bit more edgy, where you leave some of the wire unbeaded. And so this gives you a little bit, I think, okay, the next chapter is on something else entirely. So this gives you a little bit of an idea just how varied the pieces can be that you create, that you can create using this technique.
Allie says, hi, pretty necklace. Can't wait to see you make it.
Hi, Ellie. Thank you so much. I can't wait to show it to you.
Kim K says, happy Thursday, everyone.
Hi, Kim, and happy Thursday to you, my friend.
Cheryl says, hi, Irina and Tony. I love using your books for inspiration.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. All right, ladies, so we are going to get started. And what I have in front of me, and in my books, whenever you see a shape, that means I created that shape. Because, well, you know, what I do for books is maybe just a little bit different than what I do for these videos. So sometimes I find ways to simplify for these projects, right, that eventually become kits. And so to make it a little bit easier on ourselves, we are actually starting with a frame that is already created. So I have always enjoyed the shape of a teardrop or a raindrop. I think it's just a really wonderful, elegant shape. And I feel like everybody can connect to that. And so we're starting with the teardrop shaped frame. We have a Solaris piece from Swarovski. So they call them Swarovski stones whenever they don't have a hole. So a Swarovski stone very often looks something like this, where it's coated on the back. And because of that, we have that very shiny, reflective finish on the front. It's because it's coated with that silver finish on the back. And I particularly like Solaris focal point pieces because not only is it beautifully faceted and as gorgeous as most Swarovski pieces are, but also it has this contrasting frame around it. So we have this very high polished faceted surface in the center, and then we have a matte frame that really just even accentuates how beautiful the center is. So I do like that juxtaposition of the high polished and the matte, and hence my choice. And we have a setting that, yes, it was made specifically for the Solaris stones, and unfortunately, once we run out of that setting, we just are not going to be able to get any more. So the very first thing we're going to do is set our stone. And this is very, very simple. Oh yes, before I set the stone, I'm going to show you that the setting has 2 holes on each side. So you can see the 2 holes. It is a 2-hole setting, which certainly makes it so much easier to design with. All right, so we're just going to drop the stone right into the setting. And every once in a while, you'll find a setting where the prongs are positioned just a little bit too close. And I just moved the prongs just to demonstrate, illustrate my point. So you can see if the prongs are a little bit too close, you can't just drop the setting in. So no worries, we are going to, and this may not be the case. It may be that your stone just drops in perfectly, but I'm just showing you how to troubleshoot. And so now we have moved the prongs toward the outside just a little bit. And now we can very easily drop our stone into the setting. And sometimes people who have not ever used these are a bit surprised that the stone sits right on top of the setting, and that is exactly how it should be. Okay, so now that we have dropped the stone in, we are going to bend the first prong. Then we turn the whole piece 180 degrees and we go to the opposite prong. So we always, and it just moved, so I'll make sure it's nice and flat in the setting. And so now I'm just going to bend the opposite prong. And again, I'm going to make sure that the stone is, it's just a little bit askew. I don't like how it's sitting. And of course, this is always going to happen on camera. So I am bending the prongs out. I didn't bend them in all the way, so it was very easy to bend them out. And so I'm just going to do this again while holding onto the stone so that it's nice and flat. So, things may happen, and it's always good to know how to fix it. Okay, so I bent the opposite prongs, and now I'm going to bend the opposite pair. And that is just how easy it is. So we have just set our Solaris. And so next thing we're going to do is we're going to wire wrap our preset piece right into this teardrop shape. So for that, we are going to need our wire. And the wire that I chose for this is 26 gauge artistic wire. And I'm very particular about my wire brands because, of course, when we deal with wire, we have to keep in mind that some wire is going to be similar to half hard and some is going to be similar to dead soft. Those, of course, are terms that we normally apply to our sterling, which is why I'm not saying it's half hard or it's dead soft. I'm saying it's similar to half hard or similar to dead soft. And for something like this, we definitely want to use either actual dead soft wire or something that feels like dead soft wire. If the wire has been work hardened, it's probably going to break in the process of wrapping. But this should be perfect. So this is what I'm going to do. Oh yes, and I didn't grab a ruler, so I was just eyeing my wire. But generally, it's a good idea to cut it into segments about 5 to 6 inches. And this is probably close to 6 inches.
Deborah says, hello, everyone.
Hi, Deborah, and thanks for joining us. Okay, ladies, and I'm going to string my wire. So I have 2 segments of wire, and both are about 6 inches in length. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to bend. So I centered the wire, and now I'm going to bend both ends of the wire upward. And the first end can be right next to our component. And on the second end, I'm just going to hold on like this with my chain nose pliers and just bend around the chain nose. So the reason I'm being very particular about this is because I want to make sure that you leave about 1 to 2 millimeters between the bend in the wire and our component. Okay, so we're going to need that little bit of extra.
Katie S. says, happy Thursday all. So grateful for the wonderful rain we received today.
Oh my gosh, Katie, yes, you and me both. And happy Thursday to you, my friend. Yes, our flowers so desperately needed rain in our trees.
Connie says, good evening, everyone. Running a little late tonight.
Hi, Connie. Good evening. And for anybody who is just joining us, I'm just going to show you the sample again, or actually both samples. So this is what we're making. It's a necklace that I called Solaris Raindrop, and we're making it in 2 different colorways.
Connie says, good evening. Donna says, hi, everybody.
Hi, Donna. Thanks for joining us.
And Karen says, hello, everyone.
And hello, Karen.
And hi to Connie again.
Hello again,
I get lost
Connie.
in the comments.
I know. Sometimes they come up out of order as well. I'm so aware of that. All right, ladies. So now that we put our wire through the setting, right? So this is our wire in the setting. We're going to point the wire upwards like this. And we're just going to put our component right over. So I tried a couple of different ways of wrapping it, and I found out that this is the most practical way to wrap our wire. And when you're just starting the coiling process, it's going to be a little bit awkward because I'm trying to hold on to the wire and the setting all with one hand, and then I am wrapping with the other hand. So that first coil, you're just going to have to hold on to it nice and tight, and then it gets so much easier. So just in case I didn't make it all that clear, I went through the corresponding holes in the setting. And you know, when you get your kits, when you see the setting, you'll see exactly what I mean by the corresponding holes. I hope that makes sense. Please let me know if it does. So here's the start of my wrap, okay? And now I'm just going to continue coiling using these little wire ends. So I'm planning to make many more coils with the ends. However, right now that I have a couple of coils holding my stone, my Solaris stone, to the frame, I'm going to stop for a moment and I'll show you what it looks like front and back. And then I'm going to introduce a second wire. So this is what it looks like on the back. And at this point, it's still able to spin like that. And this is what it looks like from the side. So I try to really line up those holes with the frame. The closer you get the frame to the hole, the neater the entire look is going to be, right? So now that we have a couple of coils in, we are going to introduce a second wire. And again, we're going to go behind the frame like this and go through the corresponding hole. And we're going to try to center the wire. And now we're just going to bend it right around the frame. I mean, you can use your flat nose or chain nose pliers if you want to make that bend. But now that we have the frame right there, it's just so very easy to bend it right around the frame. And the reason I do it before I start to coil is so that the wire doesn't slide back and forth, and then you have a really long end and then a really short little end.
Betty says, hello, a little late, but I made it.
Hi, Betty. I'm so glad you made it. And thanks for joining us. All right, ladies. So I am just coiling a little bit, maybe just a couple of times for now, around the frame. And I'm trying to make my coils nice and snug. So keep in mind, this is pretty thin wire. This is 26 gauge, and we really don't want to overwork this wire. If you overwork wire, your wire is going to get mad at you and break. So please make friends with your wire. Don't make your wire mad. All right, so we're going to continue coiling. So let's just make maybe a couple more coils, and then I'm going to jump to the next couple of steps. And if you need a little help, you certainly can use your chain nose pliers. Can you guys see I'm using my chain nose pliers to pull at the end of the wire? And make sure you pull at the very end, because if you are using your chain nose pliers, the chances are you might just break that very end with your fingers. You know, your fingers are the most gentle tool that we have, so you're not going to break the wire. But with your pliers, the chances are the wire just might give up at the point where you're holding the pliers, which is why you're going to want to hold it at the very end of the wire. And so we are going to continue coiling. Now, before I go on to the next step, I'm just showing you what the side looks like. And so let me describe it to you. The frame is pretty much right over the holes in the setting. And this is what the front looks like, and the back. Okay, so pretty straightforward.
Lori says, good evening, Irina and Tony.
Hi, Lori. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Okay, so we're going to continue coiling, and pretty soon you are going to have something like this, where you will have coiled around the sides. So let me show you the side. And you can see my wires have gotten quite a bit shorter. And so I still kind of want to hold on to the two top ends. So I'm not going to do anything with those ends, but I really have no need for the bottom ends. So this is the ones that I'm holding on to. This is what I'm calling the bottom ends. So let's get rid of them. So this is what I did. So let me backtrack just a little. So this obviously started out as two sets of coils, and the wire from the bottom keeps going up, and eventually it meets or almost meets the coil right here. Okay, can you guys see that little coil right there? So that gap is going to get closed. So once you close that gap, all we can do with the bottom set of wires is just bend them up a little bit. So just a little. Bend them up so that they're right next to the stone. And I'm just going to do this one at a time. And cut off everything but maybe 1 millimeter. And I will do the same on the other side. Bend the wire so it's right next to the stone. And we're going to cut off everything but 1 millimeter. So we left that little 1 millimeter tail. Can you guys see the little tail? Does the camera show it? I know it's very small. So let me know if you can see. But so what we're going to do is take our chain nose pliers, put it right over that little tail, and tuck it right in so that it's on the inside of the frame. Because if it's on the inside of the frame, it's not going to hurt the wearer. So I'm just going to make it a point to say that none of the coils overlap. The coils are like a very long slinky, a very, very tiny long slinky with no overlapping coils. So I haven't yet tucked in the other end, so let's do that right now.
Pammy J says, hello everyone, sorry I'm late, but I'll catch up later on the replay.
Oh yay, hi Pammy J. You can certainly watch the replay, and I'm so glad you're joining us. Okay guys, so again, I'm just going to put the nose, the very tip of my chain nose pliers right over that little, okay, it's sliding, but it's okay. We'll just hold it right there. And as soon as you put it on that little tail, you tuck it in. Okay, it didn't tuck in very gracefully, so we have to fix it. You know, sometimes when I try to kind of slow it down, that's where things go awry. But I just fixed it. I'm just going to move the coil right back in, and it's like it was right there all along. So you can always fix just about anything, right? Okay, so this is what we have so far. We have this continuous coil, which is actually 2 different coils. And now is a really good time to start the wire beading right here. So to start the wire beading, I'm going to need a segment of wire. I'm just going to say about 12 inches or so. I do know that my work surface is about 8 inches, so I just estimate everything. I think maybe I cut 16 inches. I don't know. Or no, it's not 16. Maybe it's 12 to 14 inches. But either way, in your kit, you have 30 inches, which is way more than what you're going to need. And I'm going to start, it's just easiest to start right in that V. Okay, so you can see the V at the top of the teardrop. And so I'm going to start right in that V. I'm starting, maybe about 1.5 to 2 inches from the end. It's just easiest. And I'm going to wrap a little bit in one direction, and then I'm going to wrap a little bit in the other direction before we can stop before we can start beading. So really all I'm doing is just coiling down one side. It's very, very easy, and we want to keep our coils pretty close together, and again, without overlapping any of them. And I'm probably going to attempt to count how many I have on my samples. You know, I have what looks like a little bit of a fiber. It's not actually a fiber. I'm going to get rid, I don't know if you guys can see it. It's so minuscule, but what you will find is that if you are really pulling very, very hard against the frame and sliding the wire against the frame, you can get that little, what looks like a little fiber. It's actually because this wire, I love this wire. The reason it stays nice and shiny is because it's coated. It's coated wire, which ensures that our wire is never going to oxidize. So it's always going to stay nice and bright. So let's attempt to count the coils. So we have 1, 2, 3, I'm just going to say maybe around 8, and that's an estimate. So I will say anywhere between 6 and 8 coils would be fine. This is such a thin wire that, you know, it's like a couple of coils are probably going to make 8 millimeter. So it's not going to make a huge difference whether you have 6, 7, or 8. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop on this side, and then I'm just going to go down the other side and do the same thing. So since this side is so much shorter, it's a bit awkward for me to use my fingers. So I will be using my chain nose pliers. And again, for something like this, I will always hold on to the very, very end of the wire rather than the center of the wire, because the chances are I will break the very end of the wire, and that's okay because, you know, I have a slightly longer end than what I actually need. And, you know, if you want, you can always start out with a little more, and then if you're more comfortable with doing it by hand, you can. So what I'm looking for at this point is symmetry. I would like to see this coiled V with 2 of the same sides, right? So it looks like it's almost the same. So let me just finish this one little coil. Oh, I see, it's a little bit overlapped, so we don't want that. So it looks like it's about the same. So I'm going to say, yes, I'm looking at it. It's making me happy. So I will say, let's get rid of that little and. We don't actually need it anymore. So again, how to get rid of the and. We're always going to cut it with just a little extra tail. And the reason we want that extra tail is so that we can always tuck it in so that it ends up inside of the frame and doesn't hurt the wearer.
Pammy J says, do you only coil under the main wire, or would you mix it by coiling with another wire over the main wire? I think the main wire is the frame itself.
Yeah, so actually, I know, Pammy J, you missed the beginning, and you can always re-watch. So I will just repeat that this wire is actually a frame. So the teardrop comes as a pre-made little frame, which actually worked out so well for what I'm doing. And I think I probably need just one more coil now that I'm, you know, when you put your wire across, and now you can really see that maybe we would benefit from just one more coil. So I will do that. And Pammy J, please let me know if I answered your question. So in the meantime, guys, if you have questions, comments, please don't be shy. Okay, so this is making me happier. You can see how, so this is the true test. If you put it across, if you put your wire across and it sits right underneath the other set of coils and it's really nice and horizontal, then we are ready to proceed. And what we have for this is not a whole lot of beads, but if you decide to maybe arrange them in a slightly different way, you can. Of course you can. Why not, right? So in the meantime, I think I'm just going to stay in the same order, or should we mix it up? Let me know if you want me to mix it up, because, you know, sometimes it's kind of fun to mix it up a little. So let me know. In the meantime, I'm just putting in front of me all the beads that I'm going to need for my wire beaded portion of this. Okay, and I am going to, let's see. So really, there are not a lot of ways to mix it up. So I have, this is what I have in front of me. I have the 15 O's in silver. I also have some 15 O's in gold. And the 15 O's in gold are just slightly larger than the silver because the silver is a different manufacturer. These are also metal, and the gold are glass. I also have some Swarovski crystals, and then I have some 11O seed beads. Okay, so since I didn't get any feedback about mixing it up, I'm just going to do the same pattern. So I'm going to start with the gold beads, and we'll start with 5, and we'll see if that's enough, if that's too much. So, oh, I think I picked up 6. So I'm going to put them right across my little upside down V. And it looks like I could actually, well, let's see if we could fit another bead. So, you know, you don't have to stick to the exact same thing. You just kind of take cues from how it looks on your project. And yeah, so it looks like 6 beads would be too much, but it does not hurt to check. And so now I'm going to make another coil. Again, nice and snug. And one more. Okay, so we made 1 and we'll make another coil. So this is the entire technique. So once we have put the beads on the front, we are now going to go around the back, and we're just going to have that bare wire across the back. And since we made 2 coils on one side, we're going to mirror that on the other side and have 2 coils on this side as well. So I just made the first one, and let's make the second coil. And now we are ready to make another row. So it looks like I used the 3mm Swarovski as the second row, so I will do the same. And you know, sometimes when I do this, when I use this technique, the rows are straight, something like this, and sometimes they curve. And when I say they curve, it's sort of like a little bit of cooperation of the rows and me making the rows. So what I mean by that is sometimes it's not entirely up to you. If it looks like your beads are curving, it probably means that they don't have quite enough space to make a straight row. So they start to curve, and that's okay. Sometimes I actually will accentuate it because I do like the look. So just kind of be aware, you know, they can either be straight or they can be curved. And you can control that by either allowing enough room for every little bead, or if it looks like they're getting a little bunchy, then no worries. You're just going to have a nice little curved row.
Pammy J said her question was about the direction of the coil, as far as which way you're coiling, I think.
Oh, the direction of the coil. You know what, Pammy J? It honestly does not matter. You just coil in whichever direction you want to. Now, it may be actually helpful when you rewatch and you see how I started the coil. I started it from the outside of the frame in, and that actually will kind of determine the direction of your coil. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So again, I made 2 coils, and now I'm just going to go to the other side of the frame, just around the back with bare wire. And we will make 2 more coils again. So however many coils you make on one side, you make the same number of coils on the other side.
Helena says, gorgeous necklace.
Thank you so much, Helena. And this is what it looks like on the front. And now we're going to make 1 more row. So for this one, I chose this really pretty peach to contrast with the beautiful aqua. You know, these are very, very summery. I feel that these are very summery necklaces, even though one is called Tanzanite Ice. But you know what? Think of it as as ice in your summer drink. How is that? But yeah, these are definitely very sparkly and very summery. And for summer, I really love this color combo of either turquoise or aqua next to coral. And it looks like my beads are going to be a little bit bunchy, so they're going to be a little more circular this time, which is great. I embrace that. And again, I'm going to make another little coil. And 1 more. And now we'll go around the back to the other side of the frame and repeat the process. So, you know, there's something very, very zen about this technique because, you know, there's some repetition and yet you're playing with colors. For me, this type of a project is always so relaxing. Okay, so now we are getting ready to do our last row, which actually, if I wanted to, I could even skip it, but I really don't want to skip it. I feel like just a little pop of silver. So this is obviously a 2-tone project. It's silver and gold. So I think a little extra pop of silver would be really welcome. And so I will pick up some of my silver 15-0 beads. And yes, these are the metal silver beads, the ones that I use in so many different projects. I do love these little silver guys because can you guys see how very, very easy it is to pick them up? And they're so tiny. They're actually just a little bit smaller than the gold beads. And again, it's, you know, they're both technically 15, but depending on the manufacturer, you will have some differences. So all I'm looking to do, I don't even know how many beads I'm picking up. All I'm looking to do is just to have enough beads to get me to the other side of the frame. And yet again, I'm going to make 2 coils. So I just wanted to let you know I started with how many inches? I started with either 12 or 14 inches of wire. We'll just say 14. And I am going to have probably 3 inches left over, which is great. You know, it's always better to have some wire left over. But if your preference is not to work with a long piece of wire, because you know, the longer our wire, the more opportunities for getting it tangled or kinked. So this is how much wire I have left, about 3 inches. So I do think actually 14 inches would be good to start with, because it's easier to work with a wire where you have just a little bit of extra. So in the meantime, we still have our ands here. And what do we do with them? Well, you probably have already guessed. I'm going to use my ands to fill all of this bare frame. Just, you know, it looks a little bit more cohesive. I mean, structurally, there's really no reason you have to do this, but I think aesthetically, it's a good thing to do. So in the meantime, I'm going to cut off my excess wire that I used for my wire beading, and always leave that little tail. And now we're just going to tuck the tail in, and now we're going to use our other little tails. We have 2, and we will just fill that little space, and I just did. So again, I'm going to snip off my excess wire and tuck in the end. So always to the inside of the frame. And we will do the same thing on the other side. Once the wire is that short, it's just so much easier to use the chain nose pliers. You know, after a while, the chain nose pliers just kind of becomes the extension of your hand. It's kind of like Edward Scissorhands, except it's Irina chain nose pliers, and sometimes other pliers, of course. And, you know, the more you do it, the more intuitive it becomes. And guess what? I have just enough wire to tuck it in. Okay. So there it is. So we just finished the pendant. This is the front. I will also show you the back. This is what the back looks like. And this is what it looks like on the side. And now we're going to assemble the necklace. This is going to be very, very simple assembly. We've done this millions of times by now. We're going to use a couple of jump rings, and let's see, we need our chain, which I have already pre-cut. So when you get your chain, you'll get it all in one length. You'll just have to cut it, and I like to cut it in between the little beads or the little shiny balls, you know. If you want it symmetrical, cut it so that it is, you know, symmetrical, but that's really entirely up to you. And we have these little jump rings. We're going to open our jump ring, and these are really quite dainty. So I picked these very dainty jump rings so that they can fit. Oh, wait a minute. This is the link that I cut through. We certainly don't want to use that link. So let's get rid of it. And I'm just going to use the next link. So what I was saying is that I picked these very dainty jump rings for this project because this obviously is the only jump ring that would go through. Well, actually, yes, I had daintier jump rings as well, but I think that this one is a really nice one. It's dainty, and yet it is sturdy enough to hold on to our chain. Okay, so almost there. Yeah, this is, you guys, this is, you know, it's so much easier if I hold it, if I hold my jump ring with the chain nose pliers. Okay, let's try it again. So what I was saying is that this is probably the most challenging part of this project, you guys, just fitting this chain in the jump ring, but we can do it. Okay, I did it before, obviously, and we're just going to do it again. So here we go, it's done, and it's a pretty tight fit, but once it's done, it looks so nice, you know, because I really feel that this chain goes so nicely with the pendant. So I could have gone, obviously, I could have gone with something with larger links, but you know, I really did not want to compromise on this one. I just really love this chain. And so I just opened another jump ring, and we're going to connect it to the jump ring on the chain. So you can see why I cut the two okay, so let me rephrase it. You can see why I cut the chain in half, because the links are simply not large enough to accommodate this jump ring right on the pendant and still look nice. So to me, this is a much better look than going directly into one of the chain links. Okay, so now that that is done, guess what? We get to go through the chain with these little jump rings 2 more times. And, you know, as I said, it's probably the more challenging part of the project, but it's worth it. Okay, so my strategy is hold it with the chain nose pliers and just kind of push the the link right onto the jump ring, and there it is. So now before we close this jump ring, I'm going to attach a lobster claw to the chain, and because obviously this necklace has a front and a back, we always want to be cognizant of the right side and the left side. For some people, the right side is the dominant side, and for some people, the left side is the dominant side. And I just need to get rid of this little half link that I still have on this chain.
Allie says, looks great.
Oh, thank you so much, Allie. So, you know what? I'm just going to get rid of this link. So, yes, so what I was saying is that I really like knowing who I'm making this necklace for. So I am a righty. If I were making it for myself, I would most certainly put the clasp on the right side. And if I were making it for somebody who is left-handed, then I would put the clasp on the left side. It's just practical. It makes it a lot easier for the person to use it. And now I'm attaching the extender chain to the other side. And of course, I'm a really, really big fan of extender chains because that allows you to vary the length of the necklace And again, if you're not quite sure how the person is going to wear it, this gives you 3 inches to play with, right? So let's say you can make it 16 inches without the extender, and by adding the extender, you're extending it by up to 3 inches. So speaking of that, you can make this necklace up to 24 inches long. So you can really make it your own, at least lengthwise. And if you want to rearrange the beads, make it a little different, you most certainly can. So what do you guys think? We're just finished. You know, you blinked and we finished. So do you have any questions? And while you're thinking about questions, I'm just going to point out that these two actually turned out just a little bit differently. I have a little bit of a curve in the beads in the necklace on my left side, and this is a lot more straight on my right side. And I think that my preference is the curve. I think I really do like the curve. It just looks really fun.
Jerry says, love it.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Yay!
Julie says, so pretty.
Thank you, Julie. And Jerry, I cannot wait for our little reunion, our classes in October. I was just looking at my calendar and scheduling classes, and that is going to be so much fun. All right, guys. So we just finished the necklace. Please let me know if you have any questions at all. Now, in the meantime, I have all sorts of fun information for you. So first of all, I will do the usual and give you a little preview of our project for next week. So here it is. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to put it down. I'm going to model it. So this is a bracelet that is made using a chain that already has a smart bead on it. And it just makes it so very, very easy to put it on and make it the right length. And it's kind of sleek too, the way it looks, because it's like you look at it and go, wait a minute, how did you put it on? Where's the clasp? Because technically there's no clasp. And is it adjustable? Yes, absolutely. It is adjustable. It fits me. I have a 6.5 inch wrist. It could probably fit somebody who has a 7.5 inch wrist. And then if you have a larger wrist, I will certainly go over how to size it. So this is something that makes me happy because, you know, it's something that's really stackable and fun. And of course, stackable bracelets are still so popular. Everybody's wearing these stacks of bracelets. And so this will just fit right in. And this is what we're doing next Thursday. I'm going a little bit out of order, actually. And I call this Dainty Gems Bracelet. And this is what we're doing next Thursday, July 20th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on my jewelry design page, which is where you guys are right this moment. So we'll just put it right here. And then I'll tell you about everything else that's going on. So let me tell you, I have a few kits here in front of me so that I remember to let you know we're having a really fun Christmas in July sale. I've never done this before, and we thought, you know, it'll be fun. So both in the store and in the Etsy shop, we have this Christmas in July sale. And it's a sale on kits. And yes, all of our Christmas kits are on sale, as well as a whole bunch of other selected kits. So you don't need a code. You just go to the Etsy shop and enjoy. Just, you know, do your Christmas shopping right now.
Karen says, great design.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Lori says, beautiful.
Thank you, Lori.
Jerry says, so good to hear the classes are scheduled.
Yay! I mean, it's not on the website yet. It's really not anywhere except on my calendar, but I just want you to know that I'm thinking about it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Kim K says, love the sparkle and the chain.
Yay! Thank you so much, Kim. I'm so glad because, you know, to me, this chain is so perfect with the pendant because, you know, you have all these little silver highlights and it's just fun.
Barb says, I can't wait for the bracelet.
Awesome. Thank you.
Jerry says, so cool.
Thank you so much.
Katie says, love the chain with the smart bead.
Thank you. So this is our project for next week, and I have to say I'm very, very excited about it. But wait, I'm just a little bit ahead of myself. So in the meantime, we have a whole video tomorrow yet. So as usual, we're doing the Friday video, and it's going to be tomorrow, Friday, the 14th, at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on the Eclectica page. And this is one of the Facebook Live shopping events, and it's going to be very, very exciting. You guys have been asking me for a sterling silver video, and I am doing just that. In fact, I'm doing a whole series of sterling silver videos. I got this beautiful Sterling and Friends trunk show, meaning it's sterling, it's bronze. You're going to see a little bit of bronze tomorrow. I'm super excited about that too. And maybe next week we'll cover a little bit of copper and maybe a little more sterling. So we have a lot of sterling to show you. And of course, if you guys are in the area or within a driving distance, it's a beautiful sterling trunk show, and it's probably worth a visit. So come on down to the store if you can. And it's going to be here, as far as I can remember, through the first week of August. So we have about 3 weeks for this beautiful sterling trunk show.
Pat says, so very beautiful. I love your choice of beads.
Thank you so much, Pat. And I believe that's all of it. I told you guys about the sale. Oh, I didn't say the sale is both in the Etsy shop as well as our brick and mortar store. So again, if you're able to come in, we would love to see you. But if you're not, it's exactly the same sale in the Etsy shop. And I hope to see you tomorrow for the shopping event. It'll be very exciting.
Karen says, thank you for the lovely kits and the inspiration. I can't see you tomorrow. I have an appointment for my mom.
Oh, well, good luck with your mom. And you can, you know, if you're interested, you can always rewatch later. In the meantime, guys, have a wonderful and creative evening, and I will see you tomorrow morning.